nyie tu ndio tunaenda huko tunasikia siku ile so and so alinikataa maybe because sikumaliza shule ama maybe sina kazi ama maybe niko na shida mahali or maybe because of my status. Let us reason together in this. Let us have a conversation. You know, we are all brothers and sisters, given that we might be having some advances, but if we come to you and it's not a yes, let us know it is not a yes, but we can work out something else. We can do this. We can be friends. We can, you know, there are other businesses we can do together. Then it means you cherish us, you love us, and so is to the girl child. Mtu akikukujia usisukume sana na tusikuwe tunasema tutume fair. So as we go and discuss much, we would I would be more than happy to also touch base and if possible we want to also to discuss on issues on are these contracts for athletes, do they have a cover of insurance so that if an eventuality happens, what happens to that person? Do they have cover for insurance that the athlete will be paid off? The siblings and the family will have at least something to start up with after the athlete is gone.
Yes.
Agnes, to tell you this, Arama, she's represented Kenya not once, not twice, not 3 years, many times. Yes. At least since 2013, she's represented Kenya in every competition, in every year. She has won the jersey of Kenya for the last 6 or 7 years.
Yes.
She's brought a lot of glory to our country. Last month, she broke the world record. It came all back to Kenya. But what will the government do to those whom now she has left? To the people in the village? I saw someone saying we have to organize a race and a charity to go into a name on 30th of January, on 30th of January every year to commemorate her world record time of 30:01. And that is something that it should be done, and a charity organization that will go into upcoming athletes and also something to help the family. Yes. That is something that the Kenyan government needs to know. And if the insurance cover is not there for athletes, more so whom have represented our country in many other avenues, then let it be. Let it happen now. Athletic Kenya should work out on that. Because we don't want to be burying all our athletes every day, and then we don't have we don't get to hear after. So as we continue the conversation, let us also discuss on that. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. To me, and we were talking with Kip before the show began, that these are some of the things that really disturb me. That unfortunately, sometimes, I'm not saying this is a case with Agnes, but we have heard stories or we know of instances where even the family pushes you back to that volatile situation. Unaambiwa weenda vumilia tu. Uko na watoto vumilia tu. And then when unfortunately this person dies, the people walikuwa nakwambia vumilia ndio wanakuja wanalia hata kuliko kila mtu. They cry all their tears. Oh, if only, but you are given a chance to help this person. What is the value of marriage that somebody so young has to die just to have the title I'm married? If we go back to valuing people's life and tell people, hey, boss, you have a problem. Maybe this guy had some medical issues. I don't know. Mental issues. I don't know. Or he listened to a group of his friends who gave him wrong advice and he took it to the extreme. We don't know. Or he felt, and emaciated in one way or the other. We really don't know. But what is the role? We need to have a better role as family members, as neighbors, as friends. When we see such situations, to be actually at the forefront and say, hey, listen, this is not working out. You need to walk away from this. And be honest with people and tell them you need, and also to offer what we call safe havens. Hey, if you have a problem, just know that my house is open for you to come, to run away to, so that give the other person time to calm down. And maybe we can talk about it. And if it's not working, man, pack and go. What can I do to help you to leave? That is, I think we need to get to that conversation. I see my friend LM has joined us. Welcome, Bwana. We are talking about, I know you have read it on the news, the unfortunate death of one of the stars athletes in Kenya that was killed by her husband. And this has brought this topic of domestic violence back again to the forefront. This is not the first time. I know in the tackle, Gerald Bitok had talked about it before, but unfortunately, again, we are back to the same discussion again, but at this time, as diaspora. What is your take, and how can we address this? Is this something entrenched in our cultural aspect, or is this something that we can actually address and take care of it?
Thank you so much, Bwana Rama, Kipchumba Kipwa Bok, and Alfred Kimurgawa. Did I pronounce it well? And Bongabo. So thank you very much. I mean, this is an emotive issue, the issue of domestic violence. Let me tell you, this is not an issue that we're going to put it on men alone. I think this is we live in tough times. First of all, I feel sorry, and I send my condolences to the loss to the family of the lady for the loss. Secondly, I also want to join the sentiments of Alfred that as a country we've lost someone who represented our flag and someone who marketed Kenya to the outside world. But the issue of domestic violence, it's an issue that, I don't know where to speak. Am I a victim? Am I the oppressor? There are times you find yourself in that situation that you are pushed. I was studying, and this is not only in Kenya. If you look at the U.S., the Nigerian, for example, the Nigerian women have been killed a lot. Statistics show that their husbands, especially the nurses, have been killed by their husbands. So I think the issue of domestic, there are triggers. We need to speak to both wives and husbands and know that you need to know the limits to which you can go, and you can push your agenda, and the where to stop. Because you're meeting this person at the end of the, and I'm not justifying, and I'm not trying to commend the gentleman who killed the wife, but I'm trying to look at it from a general perspective. That you're coming home late in the evening, you don't know, the other partner doesn't know what you went through the day. We're living very difficult times. People are depressed. There are mental, illness. There are a lot of challenges. Economy is bad, and you're coming home, and maybe the other partner or your wife wants you to have a conversation or wants to push her agenda. You're trying to walk away, but she's pushing you. Or your wife is walking away, but you're pushing her. So I think this issue is for both of us, the husband and the wife. Because, sometimes when there is fatigue, you are bound to do anything. So sometimes it's important to know the extreme. If you've been married to someone more than 1 or 2 years, you stand a better chance to understand to what extent you can push. You know that if I go beyond this, it's going to be bad. There's this issue that I see people say, niguze uone, utaguzwa, and wakati umeguzwa, you're gone, you're dead. Even if we arrested this person, we imprison this person, you're not going to come back to life. So I think my take on this is that walk away, please, when you see the other person is agitated, it could be agitated for a reason. Just walk away for the sake of your life. What I usually say, if it was me, this is what I say. I say, especially where we live here in North America, by the time you have career, you have your career, you have your life, you put your life together for quite a long time, and then here is someone who is going to provoke you and then probably call 911, and within a fraction of a second, you've lost your career, you've lost everything, you've lost your freedom. So many people would think before 911 gets here, you know, I'm gonna make sure that both of us gonna lose our career, you know, and our freedom. So when you get, because people have gone through a lot, you are stressed at work, you have a bad boss. Now, the last thing I want to talk about that is about the country. Alfred talked about what has the country done towards these people who put us on the globe. I think the country needs to regulate how the affairs of our athletes. You know, look at the country like United States. The moment they realize that you have a talent, they will buy you with all their money. They'll give you a citizenship, they will give you access to anything that you want because they value you and they know that in the future you're putting United States to be a country, a great country, a country that is greater than any other country. Then why are we treating our athletes like that? Why don't we give them value? You know, they invest a lot of money, they get a lot of money. They bring, remember someone like Congestina Achiemi. She died, I don't know if she died, but she got into depression, you know, and the government was watching, you know, and yet when she was flourishing, when she was doing very well, we were cherishing her. We were so proud of her, but at our low moments, we never helped her. So let us, the government, and yet we have the Ministry of Sports, and I think Sports and Gender, I think that's what it's called. So what has it done? We need to scrap this ministry unless it's a conduit to channel the funds for common mwananchi to the few select. So my take is that the government has failed the athletes. They are not looking at their mental well-being, and they're not also looking at their welfare to empower them and give them a serene environment for them to do better in whatever they want to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, LM. Really, this is one issue that there is no one answer that fits everything. Every scenario is different, situations are different, but one underlying factor is we need to get ahead and address this issue of domestic violence, and especially to our women. It could be your sister, it could be your brother, it could be your aunt, you know, it could be your relative, it could be your friend, someone you went to school with. These are people that you know, but sometimes we have come to a position where we normalize that when somebody or so-called husband is beating up his wife, it becomes a normal thing, and we look away, we walk away. Hiyo ni mambo ya nyumbani, asaki kuhusika na. And then you turn around, we hear the person is dead. So even if I get it that there could be some triggers, but can we get to a position where, you know, hey, even for me, when I'm being triggered, I still have an option to walk away. I don't have to move forward and hit that person or do something. Kama mtu amekuja anasema niguze uone, and then I just walk away. Call me a coward for that day, but I know I've saved myself from trouble in the future. And if it gets to a point where, hey, you know what, this thing is not working out, just go your separate ways. I mean, there is no harm and there is nothing wrong with you going away, because, and I think, and I've had instances where some of people that I know that have even gone to, and you know, even some of the churches or religious leaders for help. And maybe, for example, say a woman go there and say, hey, this is happening. And then you find these people turn around and umuuliza, ulikosea bwana yako lini, unafaa uende umuombe msamaha. And I'm like, wait a minute. This person came to you with a problem, then you turn around and blame them?
But when Arama, the men of the cloth, they also take advantage. And actually, I was forgetting that
Yes.
you take your problems to the pastor, and the pastor takes advantage and says, "I'll take care of you." What kind of a man who doesn't see this beauty? Any normal man
Yes.
and has to see this beauty. But again, if you look, talking about the trigger, actually, you just mentioned, sometimes it's biological, Banarama. When I was in Form 3, I read there was a topic that was called coordination and response, where the impulse, how the impulse is, the body communicates through the central nervous system.
Yes.
So sometimes these triggers, if someone pokes you, the body, maybe the body, the hands, the brain communicates to the hands that you are under attack, react, and you find that you have reacted. But the best option, though, is that you walk away. But when also those who are pushing, let them not push so hard. But men of the cloth, ndio hao mapasta hawa na watu wa Mungu kabisa hawa wamekula, wameharibu familia sana.
Wamekula kondoo zaidi.
Wamekula kondoo zaidi. Lakini kondoo akija wakati ambao anataka usaidizi ili asaidiwe, like recently there is I think it's Minnesota, pastor, the wife and the husband had issues, and then the pastor said, I can take care of you. We have friends with benefits. When you want to make love, I'll be there for you. When when you want to make love, I'll be there for you. If you want to call me and speak about something, feel free to do so. And this is someone who the wife or kondoo alifikiria atampatia spiritual guidance or even pray over it, but instead took advantage and actually said, don't worry, I don't care if you want to date someone else, because I don't want to be selfish, because you're still a beautiful woman and you might want to see someone out there. You see, that is a pastor. So when a pastor tells you that, who else will you believe?
And I think for me, we have to look at domestic violence from, say, growing up, right?
Yes.
Our children, when they're in school, they're experiencing corporal punishment, and it's normal. When we're playing in the fields, it's normal to be fighting. So you are from this side of the country, we're from this side of the village, and stuff like that. It was normal for us. We absolutely normalized something that we shouldn't have. As you grow up as a man, you're being told a man is supposed to do this and that, and that nobody should talk to you in a certain way. You are normalizing violence, pole. As you get into family life, the problem is no one in Kenya or in most of our communities talk to you about how to prepare yourself for a marriage, for a family life, for fatherhood. You just find yourself there, and then you are lost, in a jungle full of all these temptations and issues and violence that comes with it. So, you've seen the transitioning, there's also something that we've failed as Africans, and I don't want to generalize people, but I know we are 6 here or 7 in this group. Even if I was to do a quick survey of how many men have gone to counseling or just normal talk, the problem with us Africans is we think counseling is for someone who's mentally ill or someone who has a problem. Absolutely not. Sometimes you go to counseling just to talk and rewrite direction of your life. It doesn't mean you're suffering, you're sick, you have issues. We don't do that. We don't normalize that. So the problem is there's also COVID issues, the challenges of lockdown, not having jobs, no source of income. And also the problem that Africans, we get a lot of kids and we are not able to take care of them. And then you expect your brother, your sister and everyone else to take care of your children.
Yes.
These are honest conversations that we need to have. I know we are running away because we feel like we are touching on, some area that we shouldn't be touching on. But the moment you're asking me to support you to raise your child, to put your child through to school, it means you've actually had more children than you actually supposed to have.
Yeah.
we really need to have this conversation.
Yeah.
So domestic violence in Kenya comes from a lot of things. We normalized in primary school, we normalized in our estates, especially watu wa mtaa. Ukiona mtu chokora anaslapiwa, we think it's normal, we think it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You see somebody beating their wife, you think they own them. And like I said earlier, nobody owns nobody, even if you've paid dowry. Dowry is to say thank you for raising a beautiful, wonderful daughter. It doesn't mean you've bought them. You don't own nobody. And that one needs to be communicated clearly. Now, where else are we going wrong, or what's missing? What's missing is statistics of domestic violence in Kenya. Mm-hmm. I saw one Kenyan lady, she's a lecturer at the university here in Australia. She actually started a stats checking website where domestic violence in Kenya, femicide, and also, other men also have succumbed to violence from women. Mm-hmm. Let's not forget that.
Yes.
Other men have been chopped off, like in what we've seen that on the news. So what's missing is the stats, the conversation, the support from the government, and I was thinking earlier, what about the support from women reps on, women? What has any women rep? We don't have women rescue center in Kapsabet or Eldoret, or so women/children rescue center. It means when there's violence at home, women have a place to go to take time, and people will calm down when there's any violence, right? You calm down. We have a conversation. We establish communication channels, a reasoning. Some of you and I will have to talk to these people. They calm down. We make sense to them. That way you have averted this kind of senseless killing. That's what is missing in Kenya. And we need to intervene. Otherwise, this is just the start of something horrible, and we don't want that. And I hope men have become allies. And also this is what is missing. We've empowered Carl Child. There is no problem with empowering Carl Child. I'm a father of a girl. I want my child to be empowered, to be special, to be smart, to be strong enough to say this is wrong, this is right, to get a job that she deserves, right? But what we need to do as men is, or as a community, is have allies to educate our young men that, an empowered woman doesn't mean they are your enemy. These are your mothers, these are your sisters, these are your friends, these are your aunties. So it means a shared responsibility. When someone is working and is earning an income, it reduces the stress on you bringing income to the family and taking care of the family. It means that there's access to opportunities for everyone. It means improvement in living standards for our families. So that's what we need to do. Men to be allies, men to talk, have a space to talk. What's missing also is something called safe space for men to talk. We all have stress in life, but women normally let it out. They have a place to let these things out, but men don't let it out. So it's about time we accept counseling, we accept to be vulnerable as men, we accept to talk to men, and don't see talking and sharing as if you're less of a man. And there's nothing wrong with empowering women. There's nothing wrong with walking away from a failed marriage. I know a lot of friends. I know some individuals who have walked away and start again. Society will talk 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months, 1 year. What's that gonna do to you? You'll be alive. You'll start again. You go and think of a new strategy, of a new you, a new family. That's what we need to normalize. So this thing of stigmatizing, walking away from a failed relationship, a failed marriage, and making it look like it's the end of the world or it's the end of life itself. We need to stop that. So I hope we are willing and ready to have these kind of conversations, even within organizations like Athletics Kenya. I can tell you for free, 60 to 70% of our Kenyan athlete women go through some sort of abuse, malignment, blackmail, and propaganda because of insecure men whom they are dating or they are married to. Once you go up, it doesn't mean your wife changes. No, you are the one who's insecure. You feel inadequate. But if you're man enough, you would have sat down and have a conversation about the direction of your family. You would know exactly what could go wrong if you feel inadequate. Inadequacy doesn't come, being adequate doesn't mean you just have to provide money. Money is not life. It's not source of happiness, or it doesn't make families. It makes families comfortable. But it's about the direction that your family wants to go. It's about setting the right tone for you and your family and your children. And I really hope we continue this conversation, and I hope I'm not making people feel some kind of way. Sometimes you get baptized radical when it comes to these things, or extremely leftists. So thank you. I'll leave it there for now.
All right, keep that. I think that's at the end of the day, these are valid discussions that we actually need to have. To some people, like you say, they may think this is normal, and to other people, this is not normal. And I think Ellen mentioned that even statistics here abroad, there are people who have been in trouble. I know of even cases where somebody killed an entire family just because he felt disrespected. And then now, you lose your family, you yourself, you lose your freedom, you're going to be in jail for the rest of your life. And that's the end of you. 5 seconds of anger or 1 minute of anger may end up costing you everything. And you can try to justify as much as you want. But at the end of the fact of the matter is you have made your reaction to a situation is more than what can be justified. I will understand you knocking a few things down and walking away. You can replace items, but you can't replace a human being. I mean, at the end of the day, go punch a wall and keep walking. And I'm not saying this lightly to make a joke out of it, because seriously, we need to come to a consensus or an understanding that, like you said, Kip, you paying, I don't even want to call it paying dowry, but that's what people say, paying dowry does not automatically qualifies you to own this, but this is not a piece of property that you own. And also on the other side, as the family of the young lady, kuambia mtu ati mimi sina ng'ombe ya kurudisha, to justify for your daughter or your sister or your relative to stay in an abusive relationship is absolutely absurd. Yeah, I mean, if the guy is, because you are giving somebody authority over your persons, your relative, your sister, your aunt, a person that you have grown up with, a person this person has absolute control of them. They can do whatever they want. And yeah. I'm amazed when some people actually go and support and say, oh, I stand in support of this guy. Dadangu ni kichwa ngumu. Yes, ni kichwa ngumu, but she might be right in what she's saying. Yes, and people make mistakes. I don't want to minimize that. But does it mean that when she had made a mistake, it qualifies for this person to be killed? Is that what we are saying? Is that how we are going to justify this? I don't think so. I don't know, I'm trying to look at comments and see what other people are thinking about this. Bwana Alfred, naona umeingia, hii kibarua leo utachapa kweli kweli. Let me get to you and let's hear your views.
Joe?
Yes.
I'm on the move. I'm traveling. I'm at work, but it's okay. I can contribute. Of course, umesema 5 seconds of anger can make a very big change in your life and someone else's. Mswahili huwa wanasema raha kidogo shida kubwa. Ukikula raha kidogo tu basi shida inakuja baadaye ni kubwa. So mimi ningependa tena kusema kwamba kuna kitu kingine imefika Rama ambayo watu wengi hatuja discuss sana kusema. Maneno ya inheritance. Maneno watu wanaingia katika relationship sababu ya mtu ako na pesa. Alafu baadaye anafanya mbinu na marafiki na watu namna hii. Alafu ile kitu kidogo mtu alikuwa naye inabaki kwake. Hiyo ndio imekuwa shida nyingine kubwa sana. Na sababu niseme hivi, ukiona recent incident imefanyika, imekuwa wana blame mtu alikuwa anasema niliambiwa na rafiki yangu hii ikifanyika this will happen and all these things, and those thoughts, it doesn't exist actually, to be sincere. Before you do the action of trying to maim or kill someone because of what you will think will remain after, it is an invalid thought, because once the investigation is done, then remember what the consequences will be. You go into prison, you go into jail, you do all this, and you'll not enjoy those things, and you've already finished someone else's life. Think about the kids, think about the family, think about many other things, so that you also know this thing is not possible and it is not ideal. So we also have to raise those ones. Kipchumba has mentioned that the boy child have been neglected a bit before, and I think it's the high time now for us to have a discussion. And when we have a discussion, we have a true discussion, not just because we have to meet as men or we have to meet with elders, but we have a true discussion and talk of things that are attainable and achievable. Talk of how life used to be. I don't remember from way back, I haven't heard about, people in the past years having all these killings. I don't know what happened. Another thing, Arama, is that we tend to focus more on other things in terms of this should have happened, but we haven't come up with solutions. Right. I'll talk this in Swahili. Saa hizi maneno ya COVID imeleta maneno ya mental health mingi sana. But who are these professionals? We don't see them. I was trying to engage someone from AK asking, do we have counselors in Athletic Kenya? Do we have counselors in sports, in the sports department? When these athletes have issues on their contracts, when these athletes have issues with their families, who do they see? Do they talk to their agents? Do these agents have counselors with their contracts? So that mtu akikuwa na shida, you know who you talk to. In my workplace, we are told you have 8 sessions within your contracts of work to see someone. If you have issues with your family, if you have issues with your life generally, you have someone to talk to. But today's athletes have. Too many Kenyans in the industry that they work for have these services. You have actually counselors that you can go and talk to. So those are the things also we have to discuss, have a conversation in that regard, and then come up now with solutions. That now, if you are employed by a county, for example, Nandi, if you have issues with your workmate, if you have issues with your family, this is the person you have to go and talk to, unleash what you have, tell them exactly what is happening so that they can be able to help you. But again, if we don't have these services, who should we see? Many people are afraid to go and talk to their friends because they think they will make fun of them. Mm-hmm. But I always say, you also rather say it to someone, watu wacheke, but you have already, hiyo kitu imetoka. And at least someone has known that Alfred is going through something. And if someone was planning something against you, atakuwa amesikia, I had some friends saying, Alfred alienda kuambia akona shida fulani. So that person will actually be afraid to do anything because atajua nishajulikana. Hiyo story imeshatoka. So mtu atatone down kidogo. So those are the kind of conversation we have to have. And I'm still pushing. I will find a message. I once wrote a message to elite athletes. I'm not an elite athlete, but I have passion for athletics. I have passion for sports. I had a group of about, in 2016, I had a group of about 10 athletes who are very elite. And I told them, let us discuss these issues on what do we call welfare of our athletes. Let us form a group and come up with something. We spoke for a while and then it subsided. It went underwater. This now would be the avenue of us now coming and saying, look, the idea that came in 2016 is now here to help and support. To be sincere, our athletes are going under a lot. They are not getting anything out of these contracts and this Athletic Kenya thing. They are not getting much of them. We are just having and exploiting them because of what they do. But if you come and see and quantify their glory that they have brought to the country against what they get, the services, it is unfortunate. Totally unfortunate. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
so
as I meet.
Yeah, sasa. I understand. Lazima kazi ifanyike. So guys, wow. I mean, this is an area that I think it keeps on growing, and as they say, it keeps on growing more legs as we go along. Alfred has brought a very interesting perspective also about inheritance, about welfare. One of the things that I know and distinguishes that our athletes, majority of them actually don't have the benefit of legal counsel when it comes to their contracts. Either because they are so desperate to make that money, they will sign anything, but you end up signing your life away. Somebody owns even your own name and they brand it according to how they want. And you don't realize that even your name is worth a lot. When you're an athlete or somebody with special, exemplary talents, your name means a lot. People trade that name and make money out of it. So there are a lot of people who are being taken advantage of. And it's very unfortunate, like, for example, the Athletics Kenya, that people who have been there, who have known these things have been happening, even some of them have happened to them. Why don't you come up and fix this and get these people the right advice and say, hey, before you become an agent, here are things that you have to abide by for you to represent any of our athletes when they go outside the country. Yes, because I understand some of the organizations have to record some specific agents that are recognized. I didn't even know that actually agents like the Olympics recognize you have to register as an agent, and there's some criteria. But then now you find you are being represented somebody who, one, does not understand your culture, that does not understand where you come from. They have no idea who you are. All they care about is what you can give and how much money they can make out of you. And once they get that money, and because remember, athletes' time span for you to be productive is very short. Once that is over, if you don't have anything that will support you after that, it's over. You make the money. Every race, for example, you go run, you make your money, you go home, you spend it, you build a few houses, or you buy a few flashy cars and all that. Once you stop running, then you go worse. You start selling off, including your own shoes and the jackets and the pants that you had for jogging and running. So these are things that we actually need to get quantified and not to digress also, but to tie it all together. I saw a clip online. The FKF chairman or leader, Bwana Mwendo, was being interviewed and asked what's happening with football, and they said, "Oh, Kenya doesn't have football, doesn't have talent." And then the question comes: why would you lead an organization that you don't believe there are no talents? I know we have talent. I know we have guys who can play soccer very well, but we don't have avenues to build them. And I don't want to run away so much from what we are discussing. But LM,
yeah.
How do we bring all this together? Because people get frustrated because of what they perceive they are supposed to be. They don't get it. They turn around, they become somebody else. They start beating up people. Or on the other hand, somebody who is like the young lady who just passed, who was getting to be successful. And then other people come in and start talking other stuff and putting ideas to their spouses, and it turns to such a tragic situation. How do we get this, and how do we get the families involved in the athlete's success so that nobody feels left out or being cheated or being suspicious and ending up in such tragic situations?
I think that's a very good question and tough at the same time. But when you look at the laws of human nature, you know, you will realize that people hide their true self. You know, people wear masks. You know, these masks zenye zimekuja hivi karibuni, they have been there, only that they zimekuja in a different form. So what I think for me is to put safeguards. When we have safeguards in place, they help, because you don't need someone to control those safeguards because they have already been put there. Now, there are a few things Alfred mentioned and Kipchumba, and I am of the, I feel like tumelalia boy child, that I would like to chip in and, you know, maybe speak from a perspective of a boy child. You know, there are a lot of men who have been abused, really abused.
Mhm.
And nobody talks about that. There are a lot of men who are going through depression. There are a lot of men who are afraid, people who have careers, you know, people like you, Joe, you know, Chumba. If you are abused, you rather, you know, you always think about, you are enslaved, that you don't love yourself. You're saying, oh, because of the kids, because of my children, I'm gonna try to make this happen, you know. And there are wives who have mastered, you know, the art of abusing men, the art of using the system, and men are suffering. You know, wanasemanga Waswahili kwamba mjinga akierefuka mwerefu yu mashakani. Unajua, kwa muda mrefu sana wanawake wamedhulumiwa vibaya. Wanaume wamewasumbua, wamewachapa, wakawafanyia kila lile jambo baya. Lakini wakati umefika ambapo mwanamke ametoka jikoni, na akitoka jikoni amefika mahali ambapo naye pia anaweza akatoa mawazo, kwa sababu amekuwa empowered. And because men are in denial, we are fighting back, we are resisting, you know, but this is not your position. This is my position to make these decisions. So I think the women, certain women are revenging as well. You know, there are women, and I've seen this especially those women who struggle and they went through thick and thin to become who they are, whether it's in Kenya, abroad. Now wanasema sasa wakati ni sasa, hata wewe sasa lazima niseme. Kwa hivyo naonelea kwamba pale ambapo kidogo ulisema wanawake, bwana Kipchumba, ulisema wanawake pale athletics Kenya wanapitia mambo magumu, ndipo wafike kiwango fulani. Sio pale tu, kila sehemu ya serikali ya Kenya, whether it's corporate, it's private practice or business or, you know, government, mwanamke lazima ashike meza, wengi wao ndio wapate promotions. You know, it's not like here in countries where women are protected because there's sexual harassment, physical harassment, and so on. They are well defined. There are labor laws that protect. HR is tasked to make sure that they've ensured safe environments for women to work, and so it is to men. And so I think for me, number one, when we empower women, we also want to empower men. Unajua, tuambie that yes, you're going to empower your daughter, and I also have a daughter, but I would expect her to also understand that she has to behave herself, not to be a cause. So if I bring her up with that foundation and understanding that you have to walk away when things have gone south, it will also help. Now, when Joe brings up his boy and tells him you have to walk away, when it means sio lazima uwe ni mwanaume ukichapana, it will help. But in the work of these organizations, if I look at like Athletics Canada, if you have to register anything as an agent, you have to go through, meet a certain threshold for you to qualify. And you have to maintain that status throughout the time which you are deemed to be valid or registered. So you must comply. And there are other oversight authorities that will make sure that you comply. You know, you cannot compromise those oversight authorities. The oversight authorities are going to make sure that you have done that which that is supposed to be done, and you have complied to the T. So if we do that in Kenya and start valuing our athletes, then I think we can succeed. But that being said, if our athletes will also realize that they are endangered species, come together, unite, form that united front, they will fight against poor management, misappropriation of their funds. They can share experiences so that those experiences will shape their future. But because naturally African or Black people are enemies of their own, huwa sisi tunajipiga sisi wenyewe, we tend to hide what you're getting, so that there's a lot of competition as well, and health competition in this case, and that's why we don't get. I live in Canada with a lot of athletes who came from Kenya, and they have settled here, and I've listened. They belong to an organization that I'm actually the head, and I listen to their experience and how they ran and how they were ripped off their hard-earned cash. Now, who is putting, if the Minister of Sports is not following up, who is going to fight for them? Now, that's number one. If the athletes themselves will not unite themselves so that they can share amongst themselves, form something like a union that will air their views. So who's going to speak for them? So there is something called identity. Identity, when people are frightened, they tend to regroup themselves to their identity. So if their athletes have been frightened, why are they not regrouping to their identity and try to fight as one?
Well, thank you so much. As I'm waiting for my brother Kip to come back and talk about some of the solutions. I think this is one of very sensitive and compounding and also mysterious issues that at the end of the day, we really have to confront them and come up with how do we go? Yes, we can build up safeguards. Are we lagging by, let's say, the laws of the country? Is that where we are not experiencing the right solutions? Because even in this country, even with all the protection, we still have those abuses still exist.
Yep.
And people being taken advantage of by their bosses. It's not unique to Kenya only. But the only comfort is when somebody is caught, the law really comes down hard on you. Of the case of the gymnastic doctor who for years was unable to do a lot of horror to some very young ladies, who is spending over 200 years in jail. I mean, he's going to die there. So when the law catches up with you, it really comes down hard on you. Do we have such things in Kenya? I don't know. I've personally never experienced. I have seen a few cases here and there, but the punishment really doesn't rise to that level of, hey, you need to be careful. Because one of the examples that come to mind is not really domestic violence, but all similar trends, is one of the prominent politicians in his law firm, I think is Lunturi or somebody, where the court the other day awarded a woman who was working in their firm some good money because she went on a maternity leave and these guys refused to pay her or refused to give her the benefits they fired her actually. So these are some of the things that actually tie down to the same issue, because whether you like it or not, that is still a form of abuse, because
Absolutely.
you are discriminating somebody based on their gender, and she's a woman, she has to have a child, she has to be pregnant, she has to have the child. I don't think you treat the man the same way. So these are still forms of abuse. These are still forms of violence against a specific group of people. Want to keep coming to you. What do you think are the solutions that we may be able to put forth that can address this, even though we understand we cannot really fully encompass and eliminate it, but at least put solution in place that can address majority of these problems that we're facing?
Yeah, thank you. And I'm glad we are in separate countries here. I'm in Australia, it's a developed country. You're in the United States, and Mr. LM is in Canada. Let me make this clear. The domestic violence is not something that happens only in Kenya. It also happens in Australia or any other country in the world.
Yes.
I was telling a friend of mine the other day, if our wazungu walikuwa wa Kenya or Africans, the number of deaths that will be happening at homes will be, in their doubles. I mean, these people are killing themselves, yet there's social protection, there's police protection, there's all these, measures that have been put in place. But that's not to excuse, what's happening. I think the solutions for Kenya, and I'm not saying I know all of them, but I have just few, examples of the solution. The problem, and I addressed earlier that it starts from school, and as you grow up, it starts from home. You seeing home violence at home. It starts from our streets, in the villages, in the cities, in the estates. That's where the problem starts. But so let me give you a few solutions for the girl child, and the roles of parents. Some of us are parents. I think we need to tell our children that marriage is a beautiful thing. It's an amazing union, and it's something that we should all be proud of, and we should protect with whatever it takes. But it doesn't have to take your life protecting it. I think that's number one. Number two, families is a beautiful thing. Children and taking care of children is an amazing thing. But you cannot take care of your children when you are no more. So I think stepping away is something that can be the first step in some of these solutions. It's not the best solutions, but at least we're saving lives. Parents, we should accept our children whenever they come home with these issues. We should be able to sit down, have a dialogue, understand them, see from their point. And I'm very glad and thankful to my parents, because for some reason, whenever there is an issue like this, they would sit down and listen, not just my side, but the other side as well, and then make that conclusion. Taking sides sometimes it doesn't help. It helps if you listen to both sides, because every side have their own story, and then there's a real story. So I think we all need to recognize that. The other thing, as parents and adults, we need to normalize and accept counseling. It's not something that it means you've gone berserk or crazy. It's just something that helps to line up. Because some of us are dealing with traumas that we didn't know. We got beaten up in the streets. We got beaten up in primary school. We got beaten up by our parents. Those are the traumas that normalize this violence. It can be solved only if you go to guiding and counseling. Now, the other solution is on the police. I remember having this conversation. My father, as like I've always said, was a police officer. And I remember there was a case of, rape. And I really sat down with Mzee, and I looked at him in his eye. I'm like, you have 3 daughters. Whenever a girl comes to your place of work and report domestic violence or rape issues, what do you guys talk about? How do you address it? Do you address it with the seriousness that it deserves? And he looked at me in the eye and he's like, I understand and I see it. Sometimes we assume or presume that police officers are trained to deal with these issues, but I can guarantee you 90% of our police officers are not equipped to deal with domestic violence issues or any sort of abuse issues. We've seen police officers witnessing violence in the streets and they're just laughing. So those are the solutions. So police needs to be retrained, especially when it comes to identifying vulnerable people, vulnerable children, vulnerable mothers, vulnerable husbands. Also, we need to also acknowledge when people espouse some kind of, if they're vulnerable. We need to acknowledge that and take it with seriousness that it deserves. We don't have to just laugh at it and make it like it's a joke. The other solution would be women rep. Women rep get a lot of money. I have not seen the kind of the jobs they do. But I think one of the paramount jobs that they should do with the government help, either national government or county government, is to establish social services / counseling / women rescue center / children rescue center, so that these women, whenever they go through violence, they have a place to go and rest and take time and get guided, and for children to continue with their school. I think also there should be a domestic violence registry. If not a registry, even in this country, there are some jobs you cannot do if you've appeared somewhere in domestic violence. Mm-hmm. We should have that in Kenya, where if you are employed, say Mr. SK is employed somewhere in Kenya and has appeared, just like any criminal activity in Kenya, if you're a criminal person, you shouldn't be hired. Domestic violence registry should be there, and you can only appear in that registry if you've gone through the court, because it's not for the public to convict you. It's for the courts to go through that, and then you are convicted, and then you appear on the registry. Same goes for the sexual violence registry. So the sexual violence and the domestic violence registry should be there for people to be weeded out. Some teachers have participated in sexual violence or domestic violence, and they're teaching our kids. What do you expect those people to teach our children? I've seen on Facebook posts some people justifying any sort of violence on women, and some of them are teachers, and they're laughing at it. So those are the things actually that our government needs to rein on. And finally, and I'm sorry I took a lot of time, the final solution for me is for the parents. One thing we need to do is to protect our children. We cannot, expose our children to violence like wrestling. Growing up, I used to watch wrestling. Video games that are violent in nature. We should absolutely protect our children from watching those things, participating in those things that are violent in nature, because you make them, desensitize them when it comes to these things. You make them, feel like these things are just normal. They don't get, faced whenever they see or they witness horrific stuff that deals with violence. So we need to protect our children as parents and protect ourselves. Whenever we have issues at home, we should solve them away from our children. I think those are my solutions today.
Thank you so much. Those are very good perspectives and good solutions that can actually be implemented and to some extent curtail or stem down these issues of domestic violence. And one factor that I know for sure is I believe Canada and Australia have the same law when it comes to domestic. You cannot actually enter their country if you have been convicted of domestic violence, sexual assault. You cannot, no matter who you are. You have to get special waiver for that to happen.
Yeah.
So I think
get a job.
Yeah, and even jobs too. So So I think these are things that we really need to, because to me is we should not be spending this time. I would rather have taken this time to celebrate this young lady with her achievements, and maybe we would have had an opportunity to talk to her and, celebrate her while she's alive for what she had achieved. But unfortunately, we are here talking, triggering a discussion because of what happened to this young lady. And she is one among many that happens even now as we are talking. There are some who are actually experiencing the same. Remember, there was a lady in, was it in Kericho or Bomet, whose husband took hot water and splashed on her, did serious damage. These are things that actually happen on a daily basis. But unfortunately, some of these people, even the court of law, does not met the right punishment for these things, which makes people get encouraged to continue doing the same. Because they know, after all, ukinipeleka kotini, you're my wife, somehow I have a right to do bodily harm to you because I paid dowry for you. Or on the other hand, you are my husband, I have a right to make physical damage to you because we are married. Like what Alfred said, hey, I see you have made a little bit of money, and since I want to take this money and get rid of you, I will make plans and get rid of you so that I can inherit everything. So I don't know how we will be ever able to balance this out, but I think one of the steps that needs to be taken is to put laws in place and solutions, safe havens, as Kip, you have talked about, shelters, that people know there is always a safe space for you to go to and somebody will listen to you. Coming to the police also, I think, to me, and I believe we had talked about this before when we had a similar discussion, I said, just like here in the US, they do have special divisions in the police department that deals with domestic violence and sexual assault. And those people are more than trained for those things, and they have psychologists in them. Yes, Alfred.
Wacha nifanya a quick 1 minute submission. Karibu niingie ofisi ya mtu.
Okay. Go ahead.
So, ndio nimalize mimi nianze kuongea Kiingereza mingi hapa nijitetee kivyangu. So, my submission is Kip has said also in terms of maneno ya domestic violence in regards to men. Tunaona sana mostly when men are being abused. We don't think it is an issue. We see even people taking photos and sharing and say, oh, jamaa litandikwa. And that person is going through a lot. That is humiliation in another way. Secondly, maybe mtu amekuwa amefinywa hivyo kila siku na sisi tuna celebrate because of he's a man.
Yeah.
It cuts across both ends. Domestic violence is both ends. Women and men. All have to be protected. All have to be given utmost priority when it comes to issues on domestic violence. Secondly is that maneno ya mpango wa kando. Inachangia sana maneno ya hizi vitu. Lakini we tend not to mention it.
Yes.
Many people fight, or many people, maneno ya domestic violence comes in because of someone else is involved. Na huyo mtu ako involved ni mtu ajulikane, but amejulikana kwa mahali fulani. Friends have mentioned, you've done your research, umepata. Hiyo inaleta shida. Unaanza kuambiwa sijui text ilikuja ya nani, juzi ulilala, sijui ulilala wapi. Hiyo yote ni mpango wa kando inakuja. Kama yeye ni mwanaume ama mwanamke na unaona ile services yenye mtu anakupatia haishiki, unaambia ukweli bwana, unaambia ile fedha unanipea ama ile kazi tunafanya ama ile kazi mingi nyingine tunafanya naona sio sawa. Wazungu wanaongea wanaambiana basi sasa wewe Friday unaenda hivi inakuwa legal. Ndio hii maneno ishe. Tulikuwa tunauana sababu ya kwenda kuiba, kwenda kufanya nini? Sababu mwizi ni mwizi.
Yes.
Yeah. So, unafaa bwana tuseme ukweli. Tuambiane ukweli ndio hii maneno ikue sawa.
Yes.
Hili ni kwamba Joe, ninaomba sasa kwa hii maneno ambayo imefanyika kwa mtoto wetu.
Yes.
Serikali ingilie kati sasa.
Yeah.
She was still young, 25. She still had another 15-20 years of a career.
Yes.
What will happen to that time? A compensation should be made. the company under the contract should at least give out something. The government should also compensate them so that the family can start from somewhere. Even though they are still mourning or they will be losing, they have lost a great person in their lives, but at least they have something to celebrate. Put up a charity organization to remember her. Put up something, an activity where we would be going as athletes to remember her. And of course, put up something for the family. She was a breadwinner, to get something from there. So, but tukue watu wa kweli, manjia zetu sikuwe mzuri. Na, yeah, like I said, mwizi ni mwizi, na tukue straight. Asante.
Thank you so much. So guys, looks like
lakini kuna kitu Alfred hapa amesema, lakini naona kama ametulalia sana. Alfred, lazima ujue bwana, mpango wa kando is therapy. So wakati mambo imekaa mbaya nyumbani bwana, unajua mpango wa kando unaokolea. Let's be honest about this.
No, nimesema both ends. Nimesema both ends. Sijalalia mtu.
So, also remember, mpango wa kando could be also a second wife, a third and fourth, and that this is a constitutional right in Kenya. Unajua wazungu walitudanganya, wakatuambia sisi ukiangalia historia, hao watu ndio walikuwa na hii maneno bana. Ukiangalia hata Biblia, mimi sijaona mtu mweusi akiwa kwa Biblia. Mimi sijaona hata Solomon akiwa mtu mweusi. It's all painted white. So the other thing I wanted to mention is when you grow from the age of 0 to age 9, from where we come from, there is the issue of masculinity, whereby you are told, be a man, don't be a woman. And you're told a man must be someone who is stronger, who can overcome anything. And ni kama ule jamaa alinyolewa na Delilah. So kwa hivyo mimi naonelea kwamba watoto what I do with my kids, in fact, I try and balance. Even nikiona my daughter is 13 years and my son is 6 years. So sometimes I see the age difference, and I see sometimes my daughter anataka kuignore bradaki, and sometimes naona bradaki anataka kuwa, like act like you are a girl. So what I try to tell them is that she's not a girl, she's your sister, and he's not bothering you, he's your brother. The only person who can protect you, the only person you should love unconditionally, and the person you should care for. And I try to instill these values when they are young, so that when they grow, those values cannot depart from them. So the issue of sometimes I see my son trying to say, I'm a boy and I'm strong and so on. I say it's not because you're a boy, and it's not about strength, it's about respect. And understanding that whether you're young or you're small or you're stronger, you still owe it to each other to respect and understand that you owe each other respect. And I find that works very well, that they, as much as they try to deviate, I try to give them a benefit of doubt, to remind them again and again. But the issue of being told, when you look at the police, when the police go to the training, they are told, wacha kuwa kama mwanamke. A woman has been painted a weakling, someone, a weaker vessel, someone who has to be dominated by a man. And as such, women have built resentment and hatred and wanting to be liberated from that kind of bondage that they have been put for so long. And once they get that opportunity, they go ahead and exploit it to the fullest. So what I think we need to begin to do as a society, I remember, I think it's Kipchumba who said that we don't go for conferences. And if there is any conference, you know what happens? men, especially in Kenya, trivialize it. You know, I remember there was something that came trending, stingy man, and we trivialized it. And we said boy child should be liberated from kulipa fare, you know, and we made a woman as someone who is someone who is exploiting men. When we came with the conference, the keyboard conference, men did not make the use of that conference, but rather they trivialized it and made it about men, and didn't make it about both in terms of communication balancing communication between a woman and a man, for us to strike a common understanding and how we can coexist to each other. And lastly, is that it's very difficult to walk away from a family. I honestly think, as a human being, it's very difficult to stop thinking for a second what people think about you if you move out of a relationship. People will judge you. People will say this and that. That in itself is trauma. And that trauma, some people can deal with it, some people cannot deal with it. I have, let me give you an example. I have one friend here in Canada. I realized one time I went to visit him. I was invited there, and one time I went to visit there. He had, gone through other challenges, and that challenges was extended to the guests present, because some people can handle trauma, some people may not handle trauma. So what can we do? Men need to start talking to one another, share our experience. How did you overcome it? Where did you fail? What can we do as a community of men to overcome such challenges? Women need to do that, and us coming together and ensuring that we are doing this not to undermine any gender, but to unify all the genders for a common good.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your contribution, LM. Looks like our other panelists have left. They, what wako kazini, they are doing other things. Ladies and gentlemen, this is still an ongoing discussion. We cannot discuss it exhaustively just within the 1 hour slot that we have, or 1.5 hours, so to speak. But it's a conversation we should keep on going and keep on talking. And more so when you see your friend, your brother, your sister, your neighbor that is undergoing through some challenges, give a helping hand and don't take advantage of them. Like we said during our discussion, there are people, unfortunately, like clergy, who are taking advantage and doing some horrible things when people come out to them for help. I think we can get to a position whereby it's very tragic when you hear people, some others committing suicide, some being killed, and other stuff based on things that are happening. And if only somebody had reached out or give them a safe haven, so to speak, somewhere to come and say, hey, when you are here, no question asked. Nobody's going to take it. We are just going to protect you and make sure you're safe. Maybe we'll be able to address this issue one by one or little by little until we get to a place whereby it is no longer normal for anybody to meet violence to another person. And especially when it comes to families, that is where majority of these things happen. And maybe we'll get to that discussion. Bwana LM, I want to thank you so much for being here today. I would never always forget to thank our technical crew for being able to make this show running. Bwana Gerald Bitok, thank you so much for this forum and what you have done. And I have seen online some people making some good comments. I understand it's your birthday today, so happy birthday to you. I hope utakuwa na siku njema. Hiyo kachai tunaweza nunua, ukituma hiyo namba tunaweza kutumia kachai kidogo uende celebrate. Sijui una recharge. I see you say about recharge. I don't know what that is, but that's a discussion for another day. One request, and I will send to Gerald maybe to talk about, and maybe we'll come back and talk about this next week, is about, we are coming to 2022 elections. And once again, diaspora, we don't have a chance to vote. Is there something we can do? Is it too late to get this in place for us to participate in voting or in our politics, in voting in our country, for those who want to? maybe that is a discussion we can have, or have ideas of whoever is listening, or if you are a member of Diaspora, you have an influence somewhere, you know something we can do. Issuing this challenge also to our dear friends who are going to participate maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure whether they will be there. But Naikuru Okot, being one of the people who came up with the current constitution, what steps can we take to ensure that the diaspora people actually participate in voting and participate in electing leaders who can be responsible for guiding our country to a better future? Thank you so much for attending the show today. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we appreciate your support to the Taco Show, and we appreciate your support to Gerard and his team. And we continue to have these discussions and other interesting discussions in the future. One of these days, there is something we have talked that we need to talk about, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about, is opportunities that maybe some of us don't know about that are out there for you, and ways how you can get into those processes and be able to make it successful, especially when you go to interviews in the embassy, things that you need to consider and be able to be ready to take care of so that you can be successful in whatever you're trying to achieve, or whichever country you're trying to migrate to. So once again, thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in, and the taco ends now. Have a good day, and for the rest of us, have a good night.